What's up, guys? Let's get nerdy. You may remember that I did a video on Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds like a while ago. And I don't exactly remember what I said, but I do remember why I did it. And that was because I saw that they were both getting hit with big energy and figured since it was both at the same time, there was going to be something going on that involved both of them. Often, when we are in very close relationships with other people, their charts reflect ours, or their charts have like hotspots, let's say, that are very similar to our own. So, because when stuff happens to you in life, it often affects your partner, right? Or your very close friends. So, I mean, my spidey sense went off when I noticed that about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And I didn't exactly know what I was seeing. Again, I don't remember what I said. Because sometimes when I'm not right about stuff, I don't want to go back and be like, oh, what exactly did I say? Because that just like sends my critical thinking to 1,000, which it's already pretty... I don't want to turn it in on myself because then I'll never do these videos again. So anyway, let's talk about not Justin Baldoni, because he's litigious, obviously. So we're not going to talk about him. We're going to talk about somebody who has an exact birth date and time and location, like the exact same thing. So someone born in the same place at the same time who is not Justin Baldoni. That's what we're going to do. Because when I saw his chart, not his. When I saw not Justin Baldoni's chart, I thought that I would do a video called How to Lose a Lawsuit. For reasons that I'm about to get into. I don't think I'm going to call this video that. I don't know what I'm going to call it. But what jumps out to you when you look at this chart? I think a couple of different things would jump out to you than what jumps out to me, because God has sent me all of the Virgo rising men with about this rising degree. I know them all, except for not Justin Baldoni. I've never met him. But I know a bit about these creatures, and who are, of course, human beings. But I will try not to let that perspective cloud too much of what I'm trying to say. So, cool thing about this chart is that this is an aspect pattern that he has called a wedge, which is what it sounds like. Wedge charts, you have a wedge chart if the first planet you've got and the last planet in a series of planets are within a trine, so 120 degree angle. You no doubt noticed that the Pluto to Sun situation not Justin Baldoni has is a square, which is 90 degrees. A trine is 120 degrees. So this is actually even more narrow than a typical wedge. And wedge is like the smallest pattern that there is of having everything in one place. Incidentally, because I am a pop culture consumer and I also look up people's charts a lot because I love to do it and it's what I do for fun. Someone with a very similar but very important to note, not the same chart, and we don't have her birth time, but it's Kate McKinnon. Was also born in 1984 and a little bit earlier in January, but still also has a wedge chart. And so, I mean, since she's so talented and such a great comedian, I would assume that the part of her wedge chart would fall either within her 5th house or 9th house. But my guess would be that there would be a great concentration of energy there, possibly also 1st house. But I would think if we ever do get her birth time that we'll see something very obviously performative and funny. Anyway, what does it mean if you have a wedge chart? It means that it is very, very, very difficult for you to focus in other areas of life that where the wedge isn't. So This starts from the second house and goes to the fifth house. So 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the areas of main focus in life for not Justin Baldoni. So second house, value system, how much money you have, how much stuff you have. Third house, that's early education, siblings, communication. Fourth house, home and family, and who you are deep down. And fifth house is children and performing and your quote unquote heart, however you want to interpret that. You will also notice that I left out Chiron, which is a planetoid. It's not a planet. As much as I sometimes want to count Chiron as a planet, it doesn't quite get there for me. If you were in the population of wanting to count Chiron as a planet, then this chart would change its shape, name, and it would be a bucket. A bucket chart has like a whole ass concentration of everything but one thing. And then the one thing is the handle of the bucket, and then it concentrates and draws a bunch of energy out of the otherwise very heavily focused situation. If you think about it, it's usually the moon that's the handle of the bucket, because the moon can be anywhere. But when you do see these lineups in the sky and then in people's birth charts, you find pretty intense personalities. And I mean, for better or for worse, and I really don't mean it, I'd say that very neutrally. But it is very difficult for people with wedge charts to focus in other areas that are not the areas that they have planets in. Wedge chart people are specialist people. And so trying to like coax them out of like, hey, let's do some 11th house stuff. What are your goals? They're just going to be like, I'm not doing that. Like, let's go hang out with friends. Like, no, thank you. Let's go be intense in the 8th house. No way. Okay. Moving along. Then the other thing about this chart that you want to consider for not Justin Baldoni is that there are two conjunctions that tie together other parts of the chart. So this, would it be a stellium? I'm just going to call them conjunctions. So Pluto, Moon, and Mars, and then Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter. So what does Pluto rule? The 3rd house. What does the Moon rule? The 11th house. And what does Mars rule? The 8th house. So 3, 11, and 8 are one chunk, which can mean that all of those things just kind of get lumped together in the way that the person experiences their life or does stuff. So communicating involves like extreme seriousness or telling like very, very truthy truths, which you do in the 8th house, and then also involves your like long-term vision and goals and like what you ultimately want to be in life. And then Venus and Neptune and Jupiter is 3rd and 9th house, because we got Libra and Taurus. Sorry, did I say 3rd? I meant 2nd. 2nd and 9th house, Libra and Taurus. Where's 7th house and 4th house all together. So your money, your value system, value system, belief system would be 9th house, significant others, and home and family. So those chunks are also pretty potent chunks. And if that energy gets hit by stuff, especially if both are being hit at the same time, that is an extreme life upheaval. Wedge charts are the type of charts that can go dormant for a long time with not a lot of activity. And then if two things get hit at once, like is happening now, it's an incredible cluster of a time. For not Justin Baldoni. Okay, other thing, because I have to, because I'm this level of nerd, uh, is the North Node is here in the ninth house in Gemini. I just did a video on astrological critical thinking, and so this is one of those examples that I was talking about with the Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio risings where stuff is upside down. So it's difficult to parse exactly what's going on with the fact that there is a Sagittarius south node in the third house and then also a Sagittarius planet on that south node, which would like further anchor that south node into like really repetitive, overdone behavior. When you find planets on the south node, that's just what you have to assume, is that like just think of like someone's dug like ruts or it's just a further hole to try to get out of, to surmount the habits and behaviors and attitudes that keep you anchored to the old behavior. Okay, so what's third house about? It's about your early environment. It's about the stuff that you learned when you were young, usually like high school age and before. It's about siblings, but it's about like communication within your environment and what the people around you think, as well as your logical mind, and just kind of like logicking your way into and out of stuff, which is further exacerbated by the fact that Saturn is here at the beginning of the third house. So there's a lot going on with this third house of like, there's an emotional intensity about thinking the things that you think and perceiving the way that you perceive them. And then with Uranus on the south node, I know a lot of people with Uranus on the south node. They're cool people. They have usually a pretty different take on the way that they view society, especially. They can be quite independent and free thinking. That's still the Uranus on the south node. But they will sometimes wander off by themselves if the people around them don't agree with them, or they will think of themselves as loners despite evidence to the contrary, or focus on the things that make them different versus the things that make them similar to people around them. So they can like self-alienate if they get too Sagittarian-y. Which, I mean, what's Sagittarius behavior? It's your belief system, it's cultural stuff, it can be religious stuff, and it can be, Sagittarius is like higher mind, so it can be intuitive stuff. When I say higher mind, I mean right-brained as opposed to left-brained, which, like I said, so the third house is the left-brained house. So this is a tough situation because going to the Gemini North Node in the ninth house is about broadening your mind through usually higher education or travel or exposing yourself to belief systems that are different and foreign to yours. But you have to do, that's the ninth house behavior, but you have to do it in a Gemini way of like not taking stuff so seriously and talking to people. So this is kind of like thinking about the people's belief systems who are in your immediate environment, and this is talking to people and like being okay with not necessarily everyone or everything that you learn agreeing with everything else. But because they are opposites, it's just this constant check and recheck of, am I falling into old behaviors that are keeping me in a rut, or do I feel energized and like I have new input that is exciting? Often when you go into the ninth house, you learn to be in solitude in some way, shape, or form. So not so much listening to the people around you, but learning to trust your own intuition. Although, with the third house being what it is, in not just in Baldoni's chart, there may be some hang-ups about listening. Because it's the third house and the seventh house, in my opinion, are the listening houses. So it's, are you willing to receive information from the people around you? And how's that going? But another wrinkle here, And you would need to get a better sense, like you would need to be this person, or you would need to talk to this person to kind of see where their hangups are and where they're getting waylaid, versus some things that they maybe haven't thought of or tried. The other problem, though, that I was starting to say is with all this concentration of energy all in this wedge, there is no reason to go do this. Like, it will all pull you back down into all of the energy. So just think about it as like going into the 9th house, and this is conjunct the midheaven, so professional goals or how you are seen publicly. Like, these are stretch goals. Okay. So back to what I said about if this energy and this energy got hit at the same time, that would be a whole lot of things happening at once. Well, guess what? There's a whole lot of things happening at once. This is the current sky right now, like literally. What do we see? We see, and I'm not correcting this for pre-session, so these are not exact transits. And you've already heard my lecture on that if you're following me. This man's sun is getting hit by Pluto. A Pluto transit to your sun is an ego hit, and it's a conjunction. So when there are conjunctions from anything, it is the way that Bernadette Brady talks about this is, think about the transit as actors on a stage, and they're doing a play, and then a whole different actor comes and replaces one of the actors. So in this case, with the conjunction, the sun is being replaced by Pluto. So you become temporarily Pluto. And these are not complementary energies, shall we say. I talk a lot, and some would argue endlessly, about Pluto. But it's an ego hit. It can feel like ego death, or it can feel like a big ass ego battle. It is an intense time. However, not Justin Baldoni would be somewhat used to this energy because he qualifies as Plutonian to begin with, meaning that he has Pluto in aspect to his sun from anyway, as well as a Scorpio moon. So that's like double count for Plutonian. So here and here, meaning that Pluto is conjuncting his sun at the same time that it squares itself, which is a really emotionally intense transit, and squares his moon, which is also a really emotionally intense transit, and then eventually it'll square his Mars, which, guess what? So that's a power struggle also. And not to be outdone, Neptune here is squaring Venus and itself and Jupiter. So what I talked about before of a cluster occurring, right? Let me do this in order. 3rd house, 11th house, 8th house, which by the way is other people's money. 2nd house and 9th house at the same time, so your own money and belief system. 7th house, 4th house, significant other and where you live. And 12th house, all at the same time. I don't think that I would enjoy that, and I don't think that you would either. And I definitely don't think that not Justin Baldoni would enjoy that. So then here's why I made the crack at Virgo risings that I made. They pretty much all have the same problem at the same time because it puts Pisces on the 7th house. And what's in Pisces right now? Well, Neptune. Neptune is the main issue. I don't know about in this case, but for Virgo's rising, when you have Virgo rising, you have Pisces on the descendant. Naturally, that's just how it works. Whatever is on your ascendant, the sign literally opposite is 6 signs away. You can't get out of it. So Virgo risings have a tendency to be a nitpicky people. They can be fastidious. They can criticize themselves into oblivion. They can criticize other people into oblivion. They can be, like I said, fastidious, but then there's another side of Virgo risings. Like, I've met some who are, like, they can get it together and clean up when they are inspired to, but like they know how they would do it, they just don't always. It kind of depends on where that Mercury is in their chart and what it's doing, as that's their chart ruler. But Pisces on the descendant is always going to struggle to be realistic about significant others. Pisces on the descendant is basically projecting out, because in the 7th house, that's what we project, that someone will save you or someone needs to be saved. So there's a lot of victim savior stuff playing out. You can really idealize someone, or you can date total losers. And the same person can switch roles. That's common, but Neptune's been transiting its own sign and will be wrapping up by the beginning of 2026, being in Pisces. That has clouded the issue for Virgos rising so badly. I interview some and ask them how their relationships are going, and if they know the answer, I would be impressed. A lot of them don't even know where they stand with the people in their lives. They have had relationships that have been rife with misunderstandings, thinking someone loves them when they don't, thinking someone doesn't love them when they do, not reading other people's interest as interest, because Neptune can make you pretty darn oblivious. It's a mess. So the 7th house also represents open enemies. And what that is like, you acknowledge that you hate each other. Like, there's no, like, everybody agrees that you hate each other. So what would it mean to have an open enemy who is a Pisces type? Well, that might be a total loser. It might be someone glamorous, because that Pisces is glamour. And the issue again here, sorry, if you have Neptune transiting your house of open enemies, is you can really misunderstand what your enemy is doing, what your enemy means to do, or there's just so much room for misinterpretation. It's comical. So you can have an enemy who sneaks up on you. That if you have Neptune through your 7th house, and it takes makes a transit, you can have a sneak attack happen. So beware if this means you. But it has been joined recently by Saturn. And so Saturn can confer reality to a situation, but the two legal houses are the 7th house and the 9th house. If I were filing a lawsuit, or if not Justin Baldoni were filing a lawsuit, I don't know that I would want to do that if I had both Neptune and Saturn in a legal house. I don't know that I would. What's in the other legal house? Oh, it's Uranus. Jupiter is there right now, but it is leaving. And the North Node is in the 9th house, so there could be some natal potential for legal victories, just generally. But I don't know. Saturn is going to conjunct Neptune. And when that happens, Saturn is going to be squaring this stuff while Pluto just continues doing its Pluto thing. This is a besieged chart. And by the way, I mean, just right now, Venus is retrograde in the 7th house. So this is so complicated from an energy perspective. If I were giving not Justin Baldoni some advice, it would be to really focus here on the Pluto transit to your sun, because you can't not. And what tends to happen, I mean, when Pluto is getting your attention, Pluto is getting your attention. I would be focusing on my ego and my primary drivers and what the real reason is that I'm fighting stuff. Because when Pluto is active, yes, you do extreme things, you start fights, you feel big feelings. And I sound bored because it's like, oh, this is old news, but it's just because I've been doing this for a while. But usually the stuff that you're experiencing, if you're over 25, let's say, it's because the energy is reminding you of something that happened earlier in your life. So you're fighting a fight because of a different fight. And different and earlier and more profound fight. So just the fact that Pluto is squaring itself, eventually I'll talk or write about my own experience, but what it does is unearth some really old, really painful stuff, no matter who you are, no matter what house it's in. It's old, it's painful, and it's coming up. And it feels like present day problems, and it is present day problems, but it calls back to much earlier stuff. And so if you let it come up, and if you kind of let your psyche or subconscious talk to you, or you get a really good therapist who helps you do that, so that, because it's a really unstable time, my opinion, based on my experience, not based on not Justin Baldoni, nothing to do with him right now. You just, like, you are gonna need to exercise some old stuff. And, like, regardless, even if it was just Pluto to Sun, but it's Pluto to all of this crap, you want to do that in a safe and structured environment so that you don't go too extreme, because this is all extreme energy. And just to throw another thing in here, there's 4, because I'm counting Mars, 4 fixed planets that are being impacted by Pluto in a fixed sign. So fixed energy, this and this. Fixed energy doesn't like to change, and generally when it feels attacked, it just digs in. And digging in is not always the best idea. It can make things much worse. And then you're just fighting because you're fighting. Not... I'll stop. But then this is a mutable planet. Venus is a mutable planet, and these two are cardinal. And Neptune clouding the issue can make you think that, oh, doing battle with your enemies is a good idea. Like, these can move a little bit more, again, generally speaking. There's more room to move, but it's also like one day you feel like, yeah, get them, and the next day not so much. So I can't say with confidence that I know exactly what's going on here, because I don't know, not Justin Baldoni. But it's a lot, and it's all happening at once. And yikes. My thesis statement for not Justin Baldoni is yikes. So these are my thoughts. If you don't like them, I have others. You know where to find me if you have questions or would like to converse about these things. This is what I do for fun, so this is me having fun, and I do hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you next time.